Splatterhouse Wanpaku Graffiti is the only Splatterhouse to be released on a Nintendo system. We know by now that Nintendo has a thing for gore being in their games, so how do you take a series that takes gore to the extreme for a more conservative platform? Well, make everything super deformed, of course. It's not that much of a departure from the Splatterhouse formula though, as this game was actually the second Splatterhouse game technically, as it was released after the home port of the arcade game, and the same company that worked on this would later work on Splatterhouse 2 and 3. Wanpaku Graffiti starts out like all good love stories do, with a couple reunited and a kidnapping. The scene is oddly similar to Ghosts and Goblins, with the two being together in a graveyard and then a monster appears and takes the girl. I don't know, maybe it was coincidence. That's your basic setup, and while the original Splatterhouse you could argue didn't have that much of a story, some things are omitted. Like the Terror Mask is never brought up, you're just always wearing it. Which is odd because the Terror Mask was the most developed character, and I think he had the most lines in all the games combined. OG Splatterhouse gameplay focused on moving from left to right and smacking enemies that got on your path. Wanpaku Graffiti is similar in a sense, but is more geared toward traditional platforming. It's not that fleshed out, but it does add more variety to the game than the first one did. While everything is super deformed now, it can still be pretty grotesque, in a sort of cheap haunted house or the Halloween section at your local supermarket. There's loads of cool imagery like skeletons pinned to the wall, a disgusting sewer, a cult church, and what might be the best graveyard on the Famicom. It's also still pretty violent when you're just cutting off the heads of your enemies. Just remove the blood and it's fine, I guess. Speaking of violence, the only weapon you can pick up is the shotgun. But what a shotgun. It blasts the crap out of everything into little pixel chunks and is so powerful it can knock you back. The enemy design is great for this game, with each stage having their own enemies, which helps make the levels feel different. There's zombies, bats, skeletons, Nidorans, and these weird legs in the water. Bosses are a lot more memorable. The Splatterhouse was obviously a homage to the slasher films of the 80s. Wanpaku Graffiti takes its inspiration from all over the horror genre from that time. It becomes a who's that of horror monsters. You have a vampire Michael Jackson who gives you the finger. Actually, a lot of things give you the finger in this game. Linda Blair from The Exorcist. Jaws. Instead of Crystal Lake, it's Diamond Lake. Alien, where the facehuggers burst out of your chest. This looks pretty violent, actually. I guess she's fine though, because she just walks away with a huge chest cavity. But my favourite is this uncanny representation of Jeff Goldblum from The Fly. Look how great he looks, and he looks even better when he's in his fly form. But the hardest boss is the screen after you beat the last boss, which flashes so much it hurts my eyes. An odd thing about Wanpaku Graffiti is its leveling system. As you beat enemies you gain XP, and once you fill that requirement your health goes up a segment. I guess it's so you can ramp up the difficulty. Start the game easy with low health, but as you beat enemies you gain more health, so the devs can make things harder. Which, now that I've said that out loud, I've realised how redundant it sounded. Maybe I'll talk about how the pause button functions. The game is incredibly short, but there are a few secret stages that you can access. There are secret entrances and stages that will take you to them, and after a short level you're greeted with a beautiful lady, watch a short dance, and they will give you an orb. Collect all the orbs and you can view a secret scene at the end of the game. Wanpaku Graffiti is a great hidden gem of the Famicom. It was never released outside of Japan, so it may be hard to get a hold of, but I say it's worth playing. And it may be the Splatterhouse game I can recommend the easiest. It's able to please fans of Splatterhouse with having references to horror movies and creepy atmosphere, albeit with a lighter tone, but it has a pleasing art style and gameplay that is more akin of other action platformers on the Famicom. Even though Splatterhouse is a franchise that started from humble beginnings, it definitely has had an expansive series. You have the original and the home port, the sequel that perfected the formula, a third that changed it into an exploration beat-em-up, and now a cutesy action platformer. It's a shame that Splatterhouse became a franchise that Namco forgot about. There are occasional cameos in other Namco games, but it's mostly forgotten about. I would have loved to have seen what genres this game could have evolved with as the series leapt from different hardware, but we'll have to wait a bit longer for that.